He said in the morning when the minister was supposed to appear before them,
Yes.
he was engaged with the strike matter. The strike may be off now, but in the morning it
but
wasn't.
he needed to update that the strike is all off now.
Maybe
so
he
that-
doesn't know.
Yeah.
Yes. How he's informed.
Yes.
Robert Mbui.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the procedural motion for extension of time for consideration of those two sets of regulations, because we just come from a long recess, and Mr. Speaker, the time between tabling and the consideration kind of lapsed when we were on recess. And so that we can do justice to these two regulations, it would make sense that we get a bit more time so that we can be able to address it. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that within 2 weeks, we'll definitely have sorted out this matter. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I second.
Thank you. Order, members on their feet. Take your seats. Members on their feet. Take your seats. Deputy Speaker, take your seats. Honorable members, I now propose the question at order number 8, which is that, pursuant the provisions of Section 15(3) of the Statutory Instruments Act, Cap 2A, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the following statutory instruments by a period of 21 days with effect from 17th February 2026. 1. The Kenya Roads Board Fund, Additional Funding Regulations 2025, Legal Notice number 156 of 2025.
And 2, the National Police Service Commission Recruitment and Appointment Regulations 2025, Legal Notice number 159 of 2025. Do we put the question? Yes. I'll now put the question, honorable members, at order number 8, which is that, pursuant to the provisions of Section 15(3) of the Statutory Instruments Act, Cap 2A, this House resolves to extend the period for consideration of the following statutory instruments by a period of 21 days with effect from 17th February 2026. 1. The Kenya Roads Board Fund, Additional Funding Regulations 2025, Legal Notice number 156 of 2025, and 2, the National Police Service Commission Recruitment and Appointment Regulations 2025, Legal Notice number 159 of 2025. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. With those of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 10, Committee of the Whole House.
Before that, so rescind that call to order number 10. Yes, the Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I wanted to beg your indulgence on this order number 10 on the Committee of the Whole House, because there are quite a number of amendments that have been proposed to this Judge's Retirement Bill, and which we have agreed with the Honorable Chair, Honorable Murugara, to just consolidate all those amendments and agree so that we do not have too many amendments that may negate the intent of this bill, and we have an agreement that we will be able to do that today and tomorrow, so that we finalize with this Committee of the Whole House on this bill before the end of this week. Therefore, I wanted your indulgence to drop this from the order paper today to a later time in the course of this week.
Murugara.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I do confirm that is the position. We have quite a number of amendments proposed, and even another one is actually being worked on by the Secretariat, and we need just a little more time, and a day or two we'll have finalized, and we'll be able to prosecute the third reading of the bill. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. I concede to the request and order that the matter be stayed and be placed on the order paper on Thursday this week in the afternoon sitting at 2:30. Try and finish up with what you are doing. Next.
Order number 11, the Energy Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 42 of 2023, second reading.
Before we go to that, Korere.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I rise on a point of order under the standing orders regarding the dishonorable remarks made by Honorable Member of Kitutu Churches South, the Honorable Anthony Kibagendi, MP, touching on the authority and impartiality of the Speaker and Presidium of this National Assembly. Honorable Speaker, the speakership of this august House of Parliament, presently held by yourself, embodies the authority, dignity on the office of the Speaker, is not just attack on you, Honorable Speaker, but is indeed an attack on this House itself. Indeed, our standing orders and long-standing Commonwealth parliamentary tradition require that all members show utmost respect and honor to the chair. Failure to do so is not only detrimental to the dignity of the Presidium, but also undermines the order, decorum, and the credibility of the House and its proceedings. Honorable Speaker, it is despicable that, conscious of the revered position of the Speaker of the House, the Honorable Member for Kitutu Churches South, the Honorable Anthony Kibagendi MP, who in the course of his contributions made in platforms outside the floor of this House, made remarks that were disparaging to the office of the Speaker and the Presidium of this Honorable House. For the record, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Kibagendi made remarks to the effect that you, Honorable Speaker, have auctioned the House. These remarks are quite contemptible, given that we all know very well that the Speaker presides over the House on the principle of impartiality and is guided by the rules of the House. Commonwealth traditions further, the decisions that the Speaker pronounces are not his, they are decisions made by the House, in which the Speaker neither has a say nor a vote. Honorable Speaker, I therefore seek your guidance and intervention on this matter, particularly on whether the Honorable Kibagendi ought to continue to sit in this House and in its committees, as he should be held accountable for his disparaging remarks. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think on behalf of the members of Parliament, we want to just say that we take great exception of the words used and the statements made by Honorable Kibagendi while on Citizen TV this morning. I think he has acted in a disorderly manner. He has cast aspersions on the character of the Speaker, the character of the Deputy Speaker, and the character of the entire Presidium. He has also tried to ruin the name of Parliament.
Yes,
he has said things that he's unable to substantiate.
Order. Wanjala, what's the point of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The issue the Honorable Member has raised is a very serious issue for somebody to disparage the Parliament in which he's in. I would ask the House, Mr. Speaker, I've looked around, I can't see Kibagendi.
He is there.
Oh, thank you. Proceed, Mr. Speaker.
Go on, Deputy Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Wanjala. Unlike Honorable Kibagendi, we don't cast aspersions on the character of someone or say things about a person when they are not present to be able to substantiate or to be able to defend themselves. The Right Honorable Speaker was not at Citizen TV. It was rather unfair and unbecoming of a member of Parliament to cast aspersions on the character of the Speaker without knowing that the Speaker, full well the Speaker, was not going to have an opportunity to defend himself. I think that is wrong. And if you ask me, Honorable Speaker, I think we should be asking that he be suspended from the House for the maximum period allowable, which is 28 days. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Mama Migori.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. First of all, on behalf of Kibagendi, I will apologize to this House. Unfortunately, the so-called Honorable Kibagendi is one man who never comes to this house. And even when he comes, he never even contributes. In actual sense, Kibagendi has no reason to be in this house. And his constituents should really be sympathetic to what they did by voting such a man who goes talking about the same parliament that he doesn't even understand anything about. I have never heard this man contribute to anything to do with his constituents. But when he goes on TV, he wants to do showbiz. Honorable Kibagendi, I was elected by over 200,000 votes. You have no reason to go and tell other people that our house has been auctioned. I am here every day as a first-timer working so hard to contribute to my constituents and the country. But you can't go out there to do showbiz out of desperation and embarrass a house that has dignified members of parliament.
Order, members. Order. Honorable members. Order. Donya, order. Honorable members, this is one case of what lawyers and judges would say, contempt in the face of the court. I happened to listen to this discourse this morning. There was Honorable Robert Mbui,
the Honorable Madenge, and the Honorable Kibagendi. I was horrified to hear the things that Honorable Kibagendi said. That this house has been auctioned. I don't know where the auction ring was and who was holding the hammer. That this house is now an appendage to the executive, and the speaker and the deputy speaker have destroyed and ruined this house, and many other things with a lot of anger. I could see Robert Mbui looking very embarrassed sitting next to him as he said all these things. The Speaker of this House
does not have a vote. The Speaker of this House does not participate in debate. The Speaker of this House does not generate debate. The Speaker does not bring any motion to this House. The Speaker does not bring any bill to this House. And the Speaker, even when you vote on matters, when you have roll calls, appoints tellers who bring the outcome to the Speaker to announce the results. The Speaker doesn't even count those votes. And I want to tell this House and the country, for the record, that since I became your Speaker, and I'm a God-fearing and practicing Christian, nobody, and I repeat, nobody, has ever called me as your Speaker to tell me what to do or not to do. And if anybody did, I will reject it. Because you voted for me and I took an oath of office to preside over your proceedings without fear, favor, prejudice, or ill will. And I've done so very diligently. I'm human. I could have made an erroneous ruling. I could have made a ruling that displeases anybody. But the rulings I make here are buttressed by the law. I may misinterpret the law, like many lawyers can do, but that is the right I have as your Speaker. So for you, as a member of this House, first to say the House has been auctioned, then you have no business to sit in an auctioned house. So what, and this is not a matter I'm going to invite the member to explain himself, because I saw and heard with my own eyes and ears. So Honorable Kibagendi, you will be excluded from the sitting of this House until you bring a properly worded apology, not to me. I'm used to being insulted, to the House. To the House. For bringing the House in disrepute, and that apology should be delivered to the clerk. It will be looked at carefully. If the wording is acceptable, then it will be brought to the House and you will be allowed to come back to the House. For now, you are excluded from the
proceedings of this House, the pressings of Parliament, the committee sittings, including your office in Parliament. Kibagendi, you are now a stranger in the House and in the presence of Parliament. Let the stranger leave the House first. Order, Kibagendi, you are now a stranger in the House and in the presence of Parliament. Sergeant, ensure that he does not enjoy the facilities of Parliament, including an office provided by Parliament. Yes, Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, let me begin by thanking you for the action that you have just taken, Honorable Speaker, because as you have rightly put it, it is about the dignity of this House, not the person of the Speaker. It is not about Honorable Kibagendi as a member of Parliament or even as a person, but about the dignity of this House, Honorable Speaker. And I really want to plead with all of us. Honorable Speaker, if we read our own standing orders, Standing Order 107 and 107A, 107.1G clearly says that a member commits an act of disorderly conduct if the member makes allegations without adequate substantiation. Honorable Speaker, if you listen to what Honorable Kibagendi was saying on national TV this morning, he had no substantiation of how this House has been auctioned, and even saying very disparaging things about the Deputy Speaker, who in any case was supposed to be in that show, or rather on that show, together with the Honorable Robert Mbui. Honorable Kibagendi is having his first term. He has only been in this House for 2 years, and I must agree with the member for Migori County. The member has never brought a single motion, has never proposed a single bill, and has never in any manner contributed meaningfully to any debate in this House. The best Honorable Kibagendi will do is to be disruptive of other members when they are making very substantive contributions to meaningful business. And I honestly sympathize with his constituents. Because when I look at even NGCDF reports, this is one of the most mismanaged constituencies in this country. Therefore, when you find a member disparaging a House he sits in, and indeed I looked at him, Honorable Speaker, and I couldn't help sympathize with the member because he had a lot of misplaced anger. And you could tell he has misplaced anger. And that misplaced anger is not with the House. It is with your own performance as a member of Parliament. Honorable Robert Mbui, who was seated on that show, is serving his third term. And I was praying Honorable Robert Mbui would advise him, and I hope you did, Honorable Robert, after the show, that it serves you no good as a first-time member of Parliament to disparage and indignify the House that you sit in, hoping or assuming that it will cure other inadequacies that maybe you may have as a member of Parliament in your own constituency or out there, that it serves you better when you dignify the House. Because in this House, when you have experienced members like Robert Mbui, like the Deputy Speaker who is also serving her third term now, they are more likely to advise you on how even to conduct affairs in your own constituency other than disparaging. I know the Honorable Deputy Speaker was saying to have fear to appear on the show. And in fact, if you listen, you hear the anchor, the news anchor, or the host of that show correcting him and telling him he even has an apology from the Deputy Speaker because she was tied up in Eldoret and was on the road driving because of the unfortunate strike by KCA officers. And I know there are many members, including our chair of the jailer committee, who are stuck in Eldoret. I know Honorable Samuel Boroto has told me this morning he could not make it because he was also on the road. He missed his flight, and they were stuck in Eldoret for some time. And therefore, the things Honorable Kibagendi was saying should not be excusable for any member, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this is a matter, it is good that you have taken action, because I wanted to ask the Honorable Sarah Korere to move that we name Honorable Kibagendi, and we commit him to the Powers and Privileges Committee. But Honorable Speaker, let me take this opportunity to thank you, because I'll be raising another issue tomorrow, because in your standing as Speaker, you have done what is right to protect the dignity of this House. Because, Honorable Speaker, whenever a matter is raised, whether it is in committee, in the House, or outside the House, that touches on our dignity, it is all of us collectively, Honorable Speaker. You know, when you hear people are collecting money here and left, right, and center out there, and we do not take a position as a House, then we all stand accused, Honorable Speaker. When we are said to have been auctioned, Honorable Speaker, you know, serious people like Senior Counsel Otiende Omolo, can you imagine now who would auction Otiende Omolo? Who would auction TJ Kajwang? Or an elder like Professor Nyikal, a man who sits through this House from 2:30 to 7 p.m. at times to midnight, when Anthony Kibagendi, who is younger and who is more resilient to sit for hours, hardly sits in this House for 30 minutes. So even when the House was being auctioned, where were you, Honorable Kibagendi? And he should be ashamed of himself, Honorable Speaker. And if he does not apologize, Honorable Speaker, in a manner that is acceptable to the House, Honorable Speaker, we must take more decisive action on the Honorable Kibagendi. Yes, we must take into our Powers and Privileges Committee, Honorable Speaker. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I must say it is very embarrassing and shameful for Honorable Kibagendi to have done what he did. And thank you, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable
for
members,
dignifying this House.
those who may wish to comment on this will do so when the apology comes. But what I want to encourage you members, there are members in this House, such as TJ Kajwang, James Nyikal, the elders. Bukose is approaching that level, Raso, Rindikiri, Murugara, and others, who sit in this House from 2:30, sometimes to 9 p.m., participating in debates. And when you go out there and besmirch the House, don't think that your own character is safe. The moment you say the House is auctioned, you are part of the auctioned material. Try and conduct ourselves with decorum. You know, when you go to TVs, know that the whole world is watching. Your wife is watching, your children are watching, your husband is watching, your constituents are watching. We are all watching. And you are privileged to be 290 members out of 56 million to represent the people of Kenya. So you carry enormous responsibility on behalf of our people. How you conduct yourself? 349. I was talking of the constituencies minus, Cynthia. I forgot that we have 47 women members of parliament. And there are some very young members of parliament here who I sit in my chamber and I see them participating in debate very meaningfully. Gisairo here is a first-timer. I see his production. Cynthia Muge here and others who are first-timers, but you can see substance. That I haven't mentioned you doesn't mean that I've excluded you. You are all extremely good people. I want to urge the seniors, Kina TJ and others, mentor these young members of parliament so that the moment you see a camera and a TV screen, you get excited and take leave of what is reasonable. That is not good for this House. And as long as I'm your speaker, I'll protect your dignity and the dignity of the House. I leave it there. Next. Yes, Gikaria, your order has been called. Are you ready to move? Members, Honorable Gikaria says he's requesting, go and put it on record. Give him the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to ask for a leave that we are not ready because we are just from report writing on the field development plan. If I could be given an opportunity tomorrow in the morning or in the afternoon, I'll be able to execute that.
Request granted. Next order.
Thank you.
Order number 12 of motion, consideration of a petition regarding pollution of River Athi.
Karemba, you are ready? Go ahead.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee on Public Petition number 11 of 2022 regarding pollution of River Athi. Honorable Speaker, the role of oversight of our public affairs is a core mandate of the National Assembly as stipulated under the Constitution of Kenya 2010. In fulfillment of this constitutional duty, the Public Petitions Committee is mandated under Standing Orders 208A to B to consider all public petitions presented tabled in the House. The public petitions number 11 of 2022, presented by Honorable Vincent Musyoka, MP, member for Mwala constituency, raised serious concerns regarding the sustained pollution of River Athi and its devastating environmental and socio-economic impact on the communities downstream. The petitioner specifically sought an inquiry, enforcement of the environmental laws, a comprehensive restoration plan, and a framework for compensation to the affected communities. Honorable Speaker, the committee undertook a comprehensive examination of the petition. We received oral and written submissions from various stakeholders, including 1, the petitioners, 2, Water Resource Authority, 3, Tana and Athi Rivers Development Authority, TADA, the County Government of Machakos, the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry and National Environment Management Authority, Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation, Export Processing Zone Authority, and Ministry of Interior and National Administration. To gain a practical understanding of the situation, the committee also conducted extensive site visits to the critical areas along the River Athi, both upstream in Mlolongo, Mavoko, and Athi River, EPZA, and downstream in Kiukuni, Ikalasa Ward, Mwala constituency. These submissions and field observations formed the basis of the committee's findings and recommendations as outlined in the report. Honorable Speaker, having considered all submissions, site visits, reports, and issues for determination, the committee made several key observations and recommendations. And they are as follows. The committee observed that the population of the River Athi is a profound national crisis, largely driven by the following. The River Athi is severely polluted, particularly from its upstream sections, flowing through the industrial zones like Athi River and Mlolongo, with a discharge of raw and poorly treated industrial effluent and domestic sewerage. This pollution has rendered the river water unsafe, and human and livestock consumption, as well as irrigation, especially in the downstream areas of Mwala constituency. 2, there is systemic failure by the key environmental and water regulatory agencies, including the National Environment Management Authority and the Water Resources Authority, to effectively enforce the Environmental Management and Coordination Act, EMCA, and the Water Act. This is evidenced by the continuous illegal discharge of effluent into the river, suggesting a breakdown in the regulatory oversight and compliance monitoring. 3, the lack of adequate and functional common effluent treatment plants and insufficient sewer networks in the industrial and densely populated areas surrounding the river's tributaries are primary contributors to the pollution load. Existing infrastructure, where present is often overwhelmed or dilapidated. The pollution has caused significant public health concerns, including outbreaks of waterborne diseases, and has severely impacted the livelihoods of communities downstream who rely on river for economic activities like farming, fishing, and livestock rearing. This is a notable lack of cohesive, multi-agency approach between the national government, ministries of water and environment, regulatory bodies like NEMA and WRA, and county governments, and that is Machakos County, in addressing the pollution crisis. And Honorable Speaker, these are the committee's key recommendations. In light of the observations made, the committee makes the following recommendations to the relevant state organs for action. 1, to the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry, NEMA and WRA. NEMA and WRA Water Resources Authority shall immediately compel all identified industrial and commercial polluters to cease the discharge of untreated effluent into the River Athi and its tributaries within 30 days of the adoption of this report by the House. Non-compliant facilities must be shut down and legal action initiated against the appropriators. NEMA and Water Resources Authority shall establish a permanent integrated multi-agency surveillance team to continuously monitor effluent discharge quality along the river basin. The team shall submit quarterly compliance reports to the National Assembly. To the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation and Waterworks Development Agencies shall expedite the planning, funding, and construction of adequate and modern common effluent treatment plants and complete the expansion of sewer networks in the Athi River Mulolongo Industrial Cluster to ensure all the sewage and industrial effluent is treated before disposal. The ministry shall allocate adequate resources towards the rehabilitation of the dilapidated water and sewerage infrastructure that contributes to overflow and pollution. 3, to the National Treasury and the Ministry of Interior and National Administration, the National Treasury, in conjunction with the Ministry of Interior and National Administration and the County Government of Machakos, shall develop a framework for compensation and remedial measures for the communities in Moala constituency and other affected areas whose health and livelihoods have been irreversibly harmed by the chronic pollution of River Athi. The National Treasury shall allocate specific funds within the next financial year for the execution of a comprehensive River Athi ecological restoration program as formulated by the Ministry of Environment. To the County Government of Machakos, the County Government shall enforce strict adherence to solid waste management regulations and ensure that the solid waste is not disposed of on the river, near the river or its banks. Honorable Speaker, I wish to express the committee's gratitude to the petitioners and all stakeholders for the invaluable input which enabled the committee to compile this crucial report. I also extend my sincere appreciation to your office and the Office of the Clerk of the National Assembly, and I further thank the honorable members of the Public Petitions Committee for the diligent participation in the deliberations and site visits, as well as the committee secretariat for the professional support in preparing this report. So, Honorable Speaker, I now call upon the Honorable Beatrice Elashi. I beg to move, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move, and I now call the Honorable Beatrice Elashi to second the motion, and I urge the House to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to second that the public petition number 11 of 2022 regarding pollution of River Athi by Honorable Vincent Musyoka. Madam Speaker, when you look at the findings of this petition, you realize, Madam Speaker, that the committee observed that the activities of the industries, companies in the Athi River Basin pose environmental threats to the residents of Athi River. And Madam Speaker, when you look at Athi River, for the many years that we've had challenges with Athi River, you realize even as in Nairobi, Madam Speaker, we are part of the challenge of Athi River because all the pollution that comes from Nairobi River end up flowing into Athi River. Madam Speaker, what the committee also observed is that enforcement actions and inspections by NEMA on the industrial establishments are not satisfactory, meaning that we still need a lot of enforcement to ensure, especially through the industries that are along the river. And Madam Speaker, you realize our sewer line that is more than 400,000 cubic meters becomes a major source of upstream pollution into the Athi River. And so, Madam Speaker, when you look at the recommendations that I can see the SG of ODM is walking in, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the SG of ODM has just walked in and we want to congratulate her. Welcome, Madam Speaker. Welcome, Madam SG. Madam Speaker, allow me to proceed and continue with the recommendations of the committee. So the committee, Madam Speaker, on its prayer is that the committee has engaged with the Government Chemist and National Environmental Authority, NEMA, and the committee recommended that within 60 days, the Government Chemist and the Water Resource Authority, WARA, has the mandate, which has the mandate of water quality sampling and the sample analysis report be used by WARA to ensure restoration orders to the polluting companies. Madam Speaker, you realize the committee also requested that TADA is given a budgetary allocation to spearhead the cleanup of Athi River, to collaborate with other agencies, NEMA, WARA, WASREB, and the county government of Machakos. Madam Speaker, you realize Nairobi now we have started, and we have started cleaning, and I want to thank Governor Sakaja with the whole authority that the President has put in place and that is now cleaning Nairobi River. When you go to the downstream of Nairobi River, Madam Speaker, you will find that the river is now being cleaned. The other recommendation, Madam Speaker, is that TADA, that the compensation of residents affected by the pollution, the committee rejects the prayers as an issue of compensation, which is best resolved through adjudication, Madam Speaker. On this recommendation, Madam Speaker, we realize if you want to compensate people who have been living along the river, but at the same time are the ones who have polluted the river, then we shall be bringing in a new, you'll find ourselves with many complaints, Madam Speaker, and this will bring in a new precedence that will create a lot of challenges for those who would wish to see all these rivers cleaned and pollution stopped. We will find companies also fighting for compensation because they are also on the rivers, and this will really deter what we are trying to achieve. Madam Speaker, the committee also agreed that in 6 months thereafter, NEMA to take remedial measures against non-compliant companies, industries, including but not limited to revocation of their licenses. In this, Madam Speaker, we are saying all the companies to be given time, but after 6 months, Madam Speaker, allow now the government to take over and ensure that we are able to revoke licenses for those who have refused to comply with the orders that will be given. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Water, Sanitation and Irrigation considers the proposals of the petitioners of establishment of recreational walkways to enhance conservation and ecological awareness of riparian land. Madam Speaker, you realize in Nairobi we've had that same challenge, but I also want to thank PS Hinga and CS Alice Wahome for the work they have done. And I'm thinking we already have a good framework, and that framework can also be used, Madam Speaker, to deal with Athi River. So as I finalize, Madam Speaker, the most important thing that the community felt we need to do is the pending regulations on environment bond that will compel polluting companies to pay a guarantee into the restoration fund to be fast-tracked. And lastly, Madam Speaker, the national government and the county governments of the affected areas in the collaboration with the development partners to ensure provision of adequate sewer system of the affected areas. Madam Speaker, I think this is one area that we have to ask ourselves, how do we now compel government to come up with sewer lines that will be very clear so that we don't have pollution and sewer just entering the different rivers, be it Nairobi River, be it Athi River, and all the tributaries that are around Athi River, which is the main river. So, Madam Speaker, as I support the report, I beg to second. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee on its consideration of public petition number 11 of 2022 regarding the pollution of River Athi, laid on the table of this House on Thursday, 11th April 2024. Put the question. Okay, debate. The Honorable Murugara. Those who want to contribute, kindly press the intervention button.
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I do rise to support this motion that in fact this House agrees and adopts the report of the Public Petitions Committee as regards the consideration of this very important petition that was brought to the House regarding pollution of River Athi, Athi River, as we popularly know it. And this is a very important report. And it is not just Athi River. It is a replica of rivers in the country, in Kenya, and possibly elsewhere in the world. That today, as we speak, our rivers are becoming overly polluted, and this is of great concern to Kenyans as far as their health is concerned. Possibly 80% to 90% of citizens in Kenya rely on the water supply from rivers. And these are rivers which we must maintain well, because the water from those rivers is not treated, it is not cured, and it must be kept to the utmost health standards so that our citizens are not affected negatively in terms of their health. So as today we speak about River Athi, Athi River, we must also extend this to Tana River, which is the river whose water I used when I was a young man for consumption, to feed our domestic needs and for our animals. We must extend what we are proposing for Athi River to Tana River, so that today we know very well, because of the existing drought, waters in most of these rivers is either dried up fully or it has dwindled, as a result of which, if there is any slight pollution, that pollution goes to the consumers, to the users of water from that river. And we must also extend this to the other water masses, because unless we are able to protect our sources of water from pollution, then we cannot guarantee the constitutional right given by Article 43 of our Constitution to a clean environment, clean water, and other rights that are enshrined in our Constitution. Therefore, as we adopt this report, as we look at the mitigation measures which have been proposed by the committee, we must also bear in mind that due to climatic changes, due to what is happening out there, due to failure of rains, we have rivers that have actually dried up. And I have this in my constituency, the Raka, because rivers that serve the Raka emanate from Mount Kenya. And the ice on Mount Kenya has also dwindled, as a result of which very little water flows downwards. And we also know that there are dams that are constructed to try and mitigate water passage downwards, as a result of which some of the rivers that traverse my constituency today have been reduced to ponds and pools. And this is where people draw water from for their use and for the use by their animals. It is exactly what we are saying: avoid pollution, so that the little water that is available is actually fit for human consumption. I therefore support this particular motion, that we protect River Athi and also protect Tana River and the other rivers that flow therefrom. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Yatta, Honorable Robert Basil.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The reason why I actually stand to support this particular petition is one, the river cuts through Yatta. And actually, if you look at other river, is one of the backbone in terms of source of water for irrigation for my community. And not Yatta alone, the entire Ukambani, all the way to Indian Ocean, Madam Speaker. So when we talk of pollution into that particular river, Madam Speaker, in principle, we are curtailing source of livelihood for so many households, so many people, Madam Speaker. And the source of this pollution comes from from the sewerage discharge, Madam Speaker. It also comes from industrial discharge, Madam Speaker. It also comes from agricultural runoff, Madam Speaker. And if you look at the source of pollution, it is very clear they are related or the risk, Madam Speaker. And we are talking of carcinogenic elements that could be into the water, Madam Speaker, from chemicals, from agricultural runoff, as well as industrial discharge, Madam Speaker. So importantly, Madam Speaker, there's also loss of aquatic life. We have so many aquatic animals in the river, Madam Speaker, even some which are in the ocean, because the river drains all the way to the Indian Ocean, Madam Speaker. Therefore, it's important to promote self-irrigation, Madam Speaker, and that's why I raised to support the petition. And we also need to task NEMA, Madam Speaker, as well as Water Resource Authority, who are given the mandate to regulate the discharge or to regulate cleanliness when it comes to water, as well as environment in general, Madam Speaker. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we need to come up with legislation to promote proper sewerage treatment, which is happening globally. If you look at many countries, Madam Speaker, in the world, particularly progressive countries, Madam Speaker, they regulate sewer, or they do sewer treatment, as well as regulation for any discharge that goes to the rivers, Madam Speaker. We also need to promote community-led cleaning into these rivers. We talk of Kazi Mitaani, among other temporary employment opportunities, which could be given the mandate to support cleanliness and the cleaning of these rivers, Madam Speaker. And then finally, we need to impose strong penalties so that we discourage people who actually discharge waste into our rivers, Madam Speaker. And those few remarks, I second this particular petition and the report from the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Banisa, Honorable Ahmed Hassan. He's not here? Okay. We can move to the next one, Honorable Member for Gadiani.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to also support this petition by the Honorable Member for Mwala. Madam Speaker, the importance of a healthy environment cannot be overemphasized because, I mean, it's a worldwide problem, and it's a conversation that is being discussed all over the world because it is actually a matter of concern not only to the current generation but also the future of mankind. And it is shocking that years after independence, we still are questioning the effectiveness of our authorities. Madam Speaker, we have NEMA, the National Environmental Management Authority. And Madam Speaker, the polluters of this Athi River are known. Madam Speaker, the laws against pollution exist. So my question would be, why is it that Kenyans are still suffering? You know, why is it Kenyans are still suffering? The same committee has said that it is an issue of implementation. So clearly, it means that there are people in Kenya that are sleeping on the job. People that are earning money from the taxpayer, but are not doing what is expected of them so that these problems can be sorted out. Madam Speaker, the effect of this pollution is in a number of diseases. You know, the increase in diseases like cancer must obviously be related to this kind of pollution. Issues to do with skin ailments, issues to do with stomach ailments. So these are things that are a problem. But Madam Speaker, it's important to also try and figure out what solutions do we have. First, I've said that the authorities that are given that mandate must wake up and start doing their work. Madam Speaker, if you remember, when the late Mishuki was the Minister for Environment, he actually cleaned up Nairobi River. These are the kind of leaders we want, people that can be able to put on their boots and get out there and get things done. So we require to have leadership that can be able to make sure that there is no pollution that continues to exist in our rivers. But then, Madam Speaker, there is also a very important solution I wanted to propose. If you look at what has happened, and I think this is being implemented by the US government, when the issue of terrorism became a threat worldwide, they introduced a fund where the terrorists or the financiers of terrorism would have their money taken, and it is used to compensate victims of terrorism. Unfortunately, of course, Kenyan victims of the 1998 bomb blast in Cooperative Bank were never paid, other than the ones that own the businesses and the ones that were working in the embassy. The other innocent victims were never paid. But nevertheless, the ones that are American have been compensated. So, Madam Speaker, we need to consider the possibility of surcharging heavily those polluters of this river, so that the money can be used to compensate and pay those that have been victims of their recklessness. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support the petition.
The Honourable Member for Banisa, Ahmed Hassan. Go to the mic next to you, the one on your, yes, that one. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it's with profound sense of humility and immense gratitude that I rise today to address this esteemed Parliament for the first time as the duly elected member for Banisa constituency. I stand therefore before you, not just as Ahmed Maalim Hassan, but as a representative of the resilient people of Banisa, who have placed their trust and hope in me during the challenging period. Madam Speaker, my journey to this House is one step in both sorrow and renewed sense of purpose. I was elected
in a by-election necessitated by the untimely and tragic passing of my dear brother, the late Kulo Maalim Hassan. His dedication to the public service and his unwavering commitment to the people of Banisa left an indelible mark. And his absence is deeply felt, not only by his family, but the entire constituency that he passionately served. I stand here today acutely aware of the large shoes that I have to fill, and I pledge to honor his legacy by striving for the betterment of our people with the same zeal and integrity he exemplified. Madam Speaker, to the constituents of Banisa, I extend my sincerest appreciation for the overwhelming mandate they have bestowed upon me. Your faith in my leadership, even amidst grief, has been a source of immense strength and inspiration. Madam Speaker, I campaigned on a platform of tangible development and progressive change, and I stand here today to reaffirm my unwavering commitment to delivering on every promises I made. My leadership will be characterized by sobriety, inclusivity, and insightful approach to the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead for Banisa. Together, we shall work towards a future where every voice is heard and every aspiration is within reach. Honorable Madam Speaker, I must at this juncture draw the urgent attention of this House to a matter of grave concern that is currently afflicting my constituency and indeed the entire Mandera County and Northeastern region. That's the devastating drought crisis. Our people, predominantly pastoralists, are facing unprecedented hardship. Water sources have dried up. Livestock, which are the lifeline of our communities, are perishing at an alarming rate. And families are struggling to secure even the most basic sustenance. The humanitarian situation there is dire, with millions across northern Kenya facing worsening food insecurity. Madam Speaker, as I commend the ongoing effort, I also wish to acknowledge the specific intervention already in motion. The Mandera County government is actively engaged in water tracking to over 266 sites using 33 water bowsers, and emergency drilling and repair of boreholes are underway, with 39 boreholes drilled to alleviate the congestion, but that is a drop in the ocean. Honorable Madam Speaker, I must at this juncture, Honorable Madam Speaker, the national government through the State Department of Special Programs has distributed 15,000 bags of rice and 13,000 bags of beans to vulnerable families, and the Hunger Safety Network program is providing regular cash transfers to 22,000 households. Furthermore, non-governmental organizations like RASIDA are implementing a 191.5 million mobile cash transfer program targeting 8,000 households. And the Kenya Red Cross is providing integrated health, nutrition, and wash outreaches. Madam Speaker, we were on the ground last week. Today, to make a fervent rallying call, I urge this Parliament and indeed the entire government to concert all the effort and resources toward tackling this escalating crisis. We must move beyond piecemeal interventions and declare the drought in northern Kenya a national disaster without further delay. This declaration will unlock the necessary national and international support required to mitigate the suffering and protect livelihoods and implement sustainable long-term solutions.
Our people cannot wait. Their lives, their dignity, and their future depend on our swift and decisive action. Madam Speaker, my vision for the people of Banissa is one of progress, resilience, and equitable development. I am committed to championing initiatives that will enhance access to education, improve healthcare services, develop critical infrastructure, and foster economic empowerment for our youth and women. Madam Speaker, I believe that with focused leadership and collaborative effort, Banissa constituency will not only overcome its current challenge, but it will also emerge as a beacon of prosperity within Mandera County and indeed our great nation. Madam Speaker, let me take also this opportunity to wish our Muslim brothers across the country Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah guide our deliberation and bless our effort. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Very well. Are you finished, Honorable Member?
I'm done for now.
Thank you. Before we get to the next speaker, allow me to recognize in the public gallery Kaani Lions Girls High School Girls, Kathiani constituency, Machakos County. Join me in welcoming them to the House of Parliament to observe the proceedings of the House. The next person, Honorable Amombi, are you on this? No. Honorable Njeri, are you on this? No. Honorable Basil, you've already spoken? Okay, you're still on. Honorable Bishop Kosgei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Contributing to this motion this afternoon related to the protection of our rivers in this country, Madam Speaker, it is a crucial undertaking by any country and any civilization to protect its rivers and wetlands for many, many reasons, as always outlined by environmental activists and us as citizens of our country. We have few rivers in this country, 5 major rivers and some other permanent rivers. And included among the leading rivers, River Tana River and Athi River, are some of the main arteries of our waters in this nation. Paying attention to this means we are protecting so much that is related to the livelihood of our people and our planet. Madam Speaker, I think it is not only a responsibility of the government, but the onus is on the government to inform the citizens that the people themselves be part of the protection of our environment, and one is about water. One of the greatest menaces is industrialization, however good it is in terms of providing job opportunities for our people. It has contributed to the pollution of our waters in various areas, and especially when we are building industrial undertakings in towns where many people live. Poor management of our sewerage system, so not to mention more. Madam Speaker, we should use this opportunity to address and establish a long-term program to not only add more of forest cover, but also to make sure that along the river banks, we maintain what could be the highest campaign to make it clean in order to preserve water and also preserve its quality. With that, Madam Speaker, I support.
The next chance will go to the honorable member from Mbeere North, Wamuthende.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. It's not my maiden speech. I've made contributions to this House. And protecting our rivers really is sacred. In fact, I would draw your attention to page 12, which really is alarming on the levels of heavy metals, and the attention should be on lead, because lead has very negative effects on health. In fact, if Kenyans even browse now and check the effects of lead on health, we are going to have overflowing requests for compensation. So the recommended or allowable limit is 15 micrograms per liter. And here we have 3 to 98. In fact, if you compute using 3 milligrams per ml, it's actually an insane number. That means the amount of lead that is getting to the people downstream on at the river is actually unacceptable, and the authorities that are have been mandated by our constitution to do this, to regulate, to ensure water quality, to ensure there is no discharge to our rivers, these officers actually need to be prosecuted. If you just look briefly at the effects of lead, even on the reproductive health, to men, low sperm count, to women, premature births, stillbirths, it's actually a neurotoxin, you know, and it causes irreversible damage to the nervous system. So what we are seeing in our hospitals, in our casualties in these areas, as per this report, can actually be directly attributed to the water quality, which is getting to our people. And I repeat, these officers must be held accountable, because part of the petition is to seek compensation, and the officers who have been sitting and watching this happening, they need to be held to account. You cannot allow sewer, the effluents, discharged in our rivers, and we have people downstream who depend on these rivers for their livelihood. I come from Mbeere North, which is quite similar to Mwala constituency in terms of the environment, and I currently am facing a challenge with one of the main rivers, which is Ena. We're not a lot to do with pollution, but sand harvesting, water harvesting, water pumping upstream. And this is of great concern, and I must say I support this petition. The public, the people affected in Mwala constituency should be compensated. The officers who have been allowing this need to be held to account, and NEMA, water resource authorities, they need to explain why they are allowing this to happen. With that, Honorable Speaker, I beg to support, and I want to repeat the quantities of lead in the river are unacceptable. In fact, something needs to be done urgently. This cannot be allowed to continue. I support.
Thank you. Before we get the next member, allow me to recognize in the speakers gallery this afternoon learners and teachers from Ikudha Boys Senior School from Kitui South, Kitui County. Welcome to the House of Parliament, to this House of Parliament as you observe our proceedings. Honorable members, join me in welcoming them to the House. The next speaker will be the member, Honorable Irene Mayaka, nominated member. On in the next one, Millie, the Minority Whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I wish, first of all, to recognize the presence of a student in the House, especially the young girls in the House. And I want to tell you that if you actually look down here, you can see very many women in the House. And not the bad girls, them they are good girls, I'm the only bad one. Madam Speaker, and we just want to encourage them that they know that they can make it. When we were growing up, some of us, if you came into Parliament, there would only be 1 or 2 women. So it's actually an amazing thing that now you can see women in the House, and it's something to give you hope that you can get here. Madam Speaker, I just want to say that I want to agree with the Honourable Member that the issue of conservation of our rivers and preservation of our rivers is a very big issue. And Madam Speaker, I know that as a House, we put in a lot of money towards conservation and cleaning and reservation. And Madam Speaker, sometimes I wonder what or where the money goes to. Because, and even for the people who are supposed to ensure that there is no pollution, the agencies, we have more than one agency that does this work. Perhaps one of the things that we need to do is to reduce these agencies so that we don't have duplicity, because then you don't have anybody to hold accountable. Madam Speaker, even if you don't even need to go to Athi River, just walk even within Nairobi River itself. Madam Speaker, I know a friend of mine who bought a house right next to Nairobi River and actually been forced to sell it at a throwaway price because of the smell of Nairobi River. Yet if you look at this house, the amount of money that we put every financial year towards regeneration of Nairobi River, it's an embarrassment, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I know tomorrow we'll be talking, so I don't want to preempt debate, but we'll be talking about the issues of concern that have emanated from the oversight role of the Senate. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, that even if you look at even our own oversight role, and as Parliament we try to do well, but Madam Speaker, the issue of corruption actually then stops us from realizing what we need to get as a House. We hear the anti-corruption agency speaking now and again, threatening. But why can't we see prosecution, especially in issues of corruption, serious issues of corruption? I mean, we want to treat people with kid gloves over issues that are actually bringing this country down. So, Madam Speaker, as a person with an environmental law background, I want to say that it is indeed embarrassing and it is a shame what we are doing. And sometimes I even ask myself, what more can we do as a House? If you are expected to put in money, we are putting money. If you are expected to oversight, we have oversighted. And sometimes agencies outside the House are the ones that are failing us. And I think maybe Parliament needs to have stronger and sharper teeth and make recommendations sometimes that would even require that we terminate services of people who are not performing if the executive is not brave enough to terminate people where they are not performing their tasks. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
Thank you. Next speaker on this will be the Honorable Deputy Speaker, Honorable Boss.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to lend my voice to this very important public petition. But even as we speak about it, it should not have taken a member of the public to bring a petition relating to pollution of Athi River. Because we are not just talking about Athi River alone. All our water bodies across the country are in danger. What we should actually be asking is asking the National Environment Management Authority. We should be asking the Public Complaints Committee on Environment to take action against the polluters. Right now,
We already have regulations, and polluters are now paying. Any company that is involved with any form of pollution is required to put deposits of certain amounts of money. And that money can be used to help clean up our rivers, but also to be able to have testing, constant testing, to check the levels of pollution in our rivers and also the level of chemicals in our rivers. But our rivers are not safe if we continue to use certain harmful chemicals and pesticides in our farms, because whatever is used to spray in the farmlands eventually will be washed away into the water bodies. And it will eventually make its way to our livestock, to our food, and continues to endanger our health. So this should be a situation where the Public Petitions Committee, I do hope that they did summon the National Environmental Management Authority and the Cabinet Secretary for Environment, so that they can give us a full raft of measures that they are taking to ensure that they prevent pollution of not just Athi River, but all rivers and other water bodies in the country, and have a robust system of ensuring that there is constant checking on this. And with that, Honorable Speaker, I support the adoption of the report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Very well, Honorable Shakil.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, to allow me this few minutes. Madam Speaker, I'm the Member of Parliament of Kisumu East. Our lake has 20 times the PD level that is required, 20 times. Our efforts to get the Ministry of Environment in efforts to stop the pollution by industries has gone nowhere. There is no fish in Lake Victoria, where when as a child, I used to be able to fish, and you had to put your rod in, and about 5 minutes you got a fish. Nowadays, there is no such fish. Particularly, Madam Chair, the problems also recur from the rivers that are feeding Lake Victoria, Namasaria and Kibos. The situation of Kibos River is so dire, same as with Namasaria, that even the cattle no longer drink from there. It smells, and it is totally it cannot be, even animals were not drinking from that water. So my constituents are suffering, the animals are dying, yet pollution continues to take place. The industries and the housing, the developments on that river, there is one in the Namasaria Bridge that sends raw sewage into the river. There are some industries that are also doing this. And I feel that it is very important that I give my comments at the same time as the one for Nairobi River. Our rivers in Kisumu East and Kisumu County are in terrible shape, and so is our lake, and it will affect us all. And I remember former president, the late President Moi, telling me at one time that he saw a report that in 30 or 50 years, we are not going to have a lake. We are going to have a big sewer in Lake Victoria. So we need the Ministry of Environment to pick up their efforts, and we start in the revitalization of the river, Kibos, Namasaria, and Lake Victoria. Thank you very much for your time, Madam Speaker.
Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this report, the adoption of this report by the Petitions Committee on pollution of River Athi. Honorable Speaker, River Athi, before it gets to the Indian Ocean, goes through a number of counties where many people have suffered over the years because of pollution. And I must take this opportunity, Honorable Speaker, to note the good work that is being done under the Ministry of Urban Planning, or the State Department for Urban Planning, on the cleanup and rehabilitation of the Nairobi River corridor. because part of that work covers the water that is polluted into the earth. Honorable Speaker, if you look at the beautiful work that has been done, especially in the eastern part of Nairobi, in Eastlands, that is how to start protecting our rivers, Honorable Speaker. And in many jurisdictions around the world, in most of our capital cities around the world, riverfront properties or properties fronting the river are the most prime locations. But the case has been in Kenya that all the properties fronting the river, from Kilashua, Kirichwa, to the stream that flows through Kileleshwa, and how they all combine now to form Nairobi River, onto the Athi, because of pollution, all those properties are the least valued properties. But the work that the president has put in the cleanup of Nairobi River and protecting all our rivers from pollution, Honorable Speaker, speaks volumes to how you can increase the value of even properties by simply taking care of the environment around the rivers and the riparian protection of the riparian reserves, Honorable Speaker. Right from Nairobi all the way down to the ocean where the Athi joins the Indian Ocean, Honorable Speaker. Those people who live downstream in parts of Ukambani, many of them have suffered over the years from diseases that were avoidable had we stemmed the pollution upstream. And I must commend the work that the President has done through the restoration program of Nairobi River that touches on Athi. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Shakir is reminding me that the last time we saw such a cleanup was a small work that was done around Kijabe Street, from Museum Hill down Kijabe to Grogan area by the late C.S. Mishuki. And you can imagine what would have happened today if that work that Honorable Mishuki started had continued. And we must thank that after C.S. Mishuki, President William Ruto has now come in to carry on with that great work. And we are not just protecting the environment, Honorable Speaker, but also fortressing the health of very many people who live downstream and all the way to the ocean, and even people who don't live in those areas, but are partakers of the fish that is fished in the Indian Ocean, Honorable Speaker, fish that is eating a lot of garbage out of the pollution upstream. Honorable Speaker, some years back, those in Makueni remember the unfortunate incident of oil spillage in the river. And again, this speaks to the need to have a Kenya pipeline company that is efficient and that adheres to the highest standards of conveyancing of fuel. And that, Honorable Speaker, is only possible if you have a company like Kenya Pipeline that is well-resourced. And the initial public offering that has been done speaks to this issue, Honorable Speaker, that you have a company now that is professionally managed without the bureaucracies of running it as a government-owned enterprise, Honorable Speaker, that you bring in private sector expertise and private sector resources to be able to resource Kenya Pipeline in a way that will ensure that the pipeline right from the refinery in Mombasa or from the port in Mombasa where they load products all the way to Kisumu and onward to the landlocked countries that neighbor us, this pipeline is secure, and where it is bypassing the river, whether it is Athi or any other rivers up country, it is not spilling fuel into our water bodies, Honorable Speaker, so that we protect our water bodies from pollution and protect the health of our people, Honorable Speaker. And I know when I say that, those people in Makueni know what it means, because it also has an impact also on food production. I saw farms in Makueni where they could no longer grow crops because of the oil spillage that happened some years back, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, this petition was very timely, and I thank the committee led by Honorable Karemba Muchangi, because this committee, you know, was moribund some few months back. But with the election of Honorable Karemba as the chair, the petitions committee has come to speed. This afternoon alone, you can see, Honorable Speaker, this committee has 2 reports that are under consideration, and you remember we had complaints, even from the chair, from the speaker's chair, that too many petitions were going unaddressed, and I must thank the petitions committee, and particularly the new leader, the Honorable Karemba, for taking time to consider many of these petitions, because they speak to issues that are of concern to the people of Kenya. And that is a singular business of this House, to address matters that are of concern to the people of Kenya. And this committee is indeed doing a splendid job, and I want to commend them and ask them to expedite all the other petitions that have come to you. I know, without anticipating debate, there is the one on regulation of TikTok, and when I went through that report and the resolutions that are already on the order paper, they're also speaking to issues that are of concern to many parents in this country, to the church, to us as parents, Honorable Speaker, that if we do not regulate the content that goes into social media and that is fed to our children, we are doing a great disservice to innocent children, Honorable Speaker, because I've seen in many countries, in Australia, in France, in many countries in the West, they have begun regulating content that is being fed to our children. And I must thank the committee also, because as I said, without anticipating debate on that business.
You are anticipating.
That's why I said without, but I beg your indulgence to speak to it, because I'm headed to another meeting, so I may not be there when they are discussing that particular report. But I support this committee's report, and I urge the ministry to take note of all the recommendations in the report on what they need to do to clean up the Athi and other rivers, as I commend the government and this administration for the great work that they have done in the restoration of Nairobi River. That is a way to modernize a country. That is a way to move this country to Singapore or to a first world nation where properties along the riverbanks are the most pricey properties, Honorable Speaker, and we can fish, we can have recreation facilities along our riverbanks. Thank you, and I support.
Thank you, and I indeed agree with you, Majority Leader, in commending the Public Petitions Committee. For the first time, it is no longer a subject of negative publicity, as has been before, so keep it up. The next one will be Honorable Korere Sarah, member for Laikipia North.
Thank you, Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also want to support the adoption of this report. And Madam Speaker, I think it's not just about the pollution in Tana River or at the river, but rather, Madam Speaker, it is about our natural resources. Madam Speaker, if you look at the rivers that originate from Mount Kenya, for example, the Sirimon River, the famous Ewasongiro, the abstraction of water upstream and the pollution, the communities that live downstream are left at the mercies of big companies that are producing flowers and exporting them outside this country. And the only thing that that river brings to the communities downstream is diseases and a lot of pollution. And far from that, Madam Speaker, if you look at the conflict, resource-based conflict, especially among the pastoral community living in the lowlands, is at another level. Madam Speaker, you know water is life. And if some communities cannot access water, simply because rivers that were known not to be seasonal rivers, but permanent rivers, are now permanently dry. If you look at Wasongiro, if you look at the Sirimon River, if you look at the Nyaregendo River, by January, none of them is flowing. Not because there is no water coming from up Mount Kenya, but because of the illegal abstraction of rivers by big companies. And Madam Speaker, we cannot have the common mwananchi living at the masses of the big companies. Madam Speaker, there are these regulatory bodies like the Water Resource Authority, there is NEMA. I think they are not just there to draw salaries from public taxes and do nothing. They should indeed regulate the use of these resources. So that, Madam Speaker, nobody has to suffer because you don't have water, and more so because you don't have clean water. And Madam Speaker, some of these chemicals they use in these farms and discharge it, directly to the river has got far-reaching effects on the health of the people. It causes abortion, it causes skin diseases, diarrhea, name it, Madam Speaker. So I think this petition is very, very timely. And Madam Speaker, it's not just about the rivers. If you look at our lakes today, I'm sure you come from Naivasha where we have the Elementaita Lake, we have Lake Naivasha. These lakes are becoming silted up because of the destruction of our forests. And Madam Speaker, when forests are destroyed, there is a lot of erosion, and that is why our rivers are getting silted up. And Madam Speaker, it is costing lives. If you look at Baringo, for example, the schools in Ilchamus, they are all have been swallowed by the river, the Lake Bogoria, Madam Speaker. So I think it is a high time we come out as a people to know that protecting our natural resources is protecting our livelihoods, because our livelihoods have got a direct impact on our natural resources. Madam Speaker, if you look at, and I want to commend this committee on petitions, because they have done such a good work, and the report, is so clear on what they intend to do. And I'm sure there are a lot of petitions that are awaiting the attention of the chairman, including the Mgogodo Forest report, which I know he will do a lot of justice to it. But Madam Speaker, when we protect our natural resources, when we conserve our natural resources, we are conserving human life and livelihoods. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I beg to support.
Very well. Honorable Dr. Mutunga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to comment on this report. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support adoption of the report by the Committee on Petitions. Honorable Speaker, pollution is really a serious problem, especially in this country. So cleaning Nairobi River is very, very important, not just because of the water itself that will be consumed downstream or used downstream, but also to create possibilities for investment. Honorable Speaker, if you go to most cities in the world, you will find that there are channels that are being used to create mobile restaurants, to create recreational sites, to build along those channels and put in investments where people would probably have the possibility of sightseeing from an open area. Only water masses and probably grasslands can allow for sightseeing. In Kenya, the only thing we have is the Nairobi National Park, which is near the city. And we have not witnessed a lot of construction that face the Nairobi National Park. So Nairobi River will be a good example of an investment area that would lead to serious associated development. Honorable Speaker, the pollutants are both solvents and solvents. Solvents could be of plastic nature, solvents could be metallic, or solvents could be of different nature. And solvents, Honorable Speaker, could be of a variant scope. Honorable Speaker, we even have waste material that basically come from our sewer system, finding its way into this river. This river has got use all the way from Nairobi to Indian Ocean. Nobody here can claim not to have tasted some water from this river. Because if you have ever been to Malindi and you've tasted water from the ocean, of course, as you try to swim, then you have tasted the waste. And Honorable Speaker, it is not the amount of waste that one takes, it is the levels that exceed levels of concern in the human body. And it is possible for us to have had these solvents taken by ourselves. So for the sake of all of us, not for the sake of the people who are living along the road, along the river, it is important to clean the river. Honorable Speaker, some of these solvents stay for a very long time. Very, very long time. They have very long lifespan, and this lifespan they are still viable, which means therefore they can affect a human being. So it's better for us to prevent ourselves from getting into contact with them by way of ensuring that we can clean the river. Honorable Speaker, since we know that these solvents are actually taken, and even as we continue cleaning this particular river, and because we know that there is deliberate effort to discharge waste into this river, my proposal is that we come up with investments along the river for cleaning stations for water, water for human consumption. It is important for the government to consider investment along this particular river. Getting part of this river, treating this water, and basically collecting part of the water in from this river and treating it for purposes of human consumption. What remains right now, people dig wells, shallow wells, to get spring water from this particular river. Spring water does not mean it is clean. It has only been filtered. It is still containing the dissolved solvents, the dissolved solvents that are dangerous to human life. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I propose adoption of the report.
Thank you. Member for Kilifi North.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to thank you for giving this opportunity to actually support the adoption of this report on the Athi River, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say one thing. You know, while it is very important to look at some socio-economic factors, especially on the river, Honorable Speaker, there are certain fundamental things that probably have not been noticed. And I want to thank the committee of Honorable Karemba on this matter. The Athi River, Honorable Speaker, when it leaves Nairobi, it becomes Galana, then eventually becomes Athi River. Today, Honorable Speaker, I can tell you and declare on the floor of this House that Malindi, the once very beautiful town that was favored by many tourists, today is on its deathbed because of the pollution from the river. Honorable Speaker, as you approach Malindi, Sabaki, and the estuary, you know, the estuary that gets the water from the river into the ocean, all the mud, all the unpalatable things, all the lead, everything else eventually pours into the ocean. What it has done, it has killed marine life in the ocean, especially around Malindi. Secondly, it has poured all the mud. Nobody now wants to go to Malindi because of the muddy waters that come from the river. It has turned the once very white, pristine beach, the white sands of Malindi, has now become the brown sands of Malindi. Now, people do not want to swim in the mud. They have now relocated more to go to Watamu side and Diani other than stay in Malindi because of the river. Honorable Speaker, we have a duty, we are duty bearers to protect such ecosystems like Malindi town, which for many years we would read in geography that foreign exchange, tourism was the highest earner in terms of foreign exchange. Honorable Speaker, as I speak to you today here, the tourism in Malindi is gone. And one of the key factors that has contributed to the death of tourism in Malindi is actually River Sabaki as it pours its water into the Indian Ocean. So, Honorable Speaker, on their own motion, the committee here on environment needs to pick this matter on their own motion and investigate what is it that can be done to protect such a beautiful town like Malindi from total collapse because of the muddy, lead, contaminated, and a lot of contaminated water that goes into Malindi. Fishing, Honorable Speaker, when you get to Malindi now, is moving much deep on inshore because of the river, Honorable Speaker. And while there's a lot of work that is being done in Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, around the Nairobi River, which is very commendable, Honorable Speaker, but we need to look downstream. What are the hazards of the river? What will we do about uplifting the town that was once a vibrant tourist town that many people became millionaires from, Honorable Speaker, from a death sentence that has been pronounced by the river, Honorable Speaker. And this, Honorable Speaker, I would like even the committee here on tourism, on its own motion, to move to look at what is it that they can do to rescue. Honorable Speaker, I want to take you down memory lane, Honorable Speaker. A lot of billionaires invested in Malindi. a lot of billionaires. If you go to Malindi today, there are many people who've invested in big hotels, they invested in holiday homes, they invested in many properties there, Honorable Speaker. But if you go there today, it is a shadow of its former self. They have abandoned those buildings, they don't want to stay there, no tourist prefers that area, and no investor now wants to invest in that area because of the major reason that we have been told, and I think it is true, Honorable Speaker, is because of the water that is being poured, contaminated water that is being poured into. You go to Malindi right now, Honorable Speaker, you see a lot of fish dying at the ocean. You know, areas that used to be habitated by fish, Honorable Speaker, areas that used to produce huge tons of fish, Honorable Speaker, no longer do that because of what is coming from upstream, going downstream, and polluting the once beautiful, pristine beaches of Malindi, Honorable Speaker. And this is something that should be a national concern. What can we do with the science that we have? We have a new State Department of Research under Professor Shaukat. One of the things that that ministry, that State Department needs to do is to go out there, carry out research, and use technology to see what is it that we can do. What can we do at the estuary to ensure that only pure water goes into the Indian Ocean, the contaminated water and the muddy waters actually go elsewhere? What is it that we can do to save a town that once gave this country a name? A town, Honorable Speaker, that once gave this country billions of dollars. A town that was a beacon of hope for many, not only in this country, but outside there, Honorable Speaker, and bring back the glory. And we can do the same thing we are doing in Nairobi River and do in Malindi so that we can rescue that once beautiful town. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to also make a comment on the report by the Public Petition Committee regarding the pollution of River Athi, as requested by Honorable Musyoka, MP for Mwala. Honorable Speaker, as you have always said, rivers is literally like the life of many communities. Rivers feed into lakes, rivers feed into oceans, rivers feed into other water bodies, and the human life and animal life squarely depends on the water inflow into the river. Many of us who came to Nairobi much late when coming to school, of course, we used to marvel at the clean rivers. We used to see everything clean. But Honorable Speaker, if you walk around, if you travel around, you can see the devastation of pollution that has caused to the rivers and the water bodies. Allow me, Honorable Speaker, to echo the recommendations of the committee. The first recommendation is to take a test of the chemical pollution in the river, and that's within 60 days. I just hope and pray, Honorable Speaker, we need to have a mechanism to ensure these recommendations are appropriately attended to, and basically the report is resubmitted to Parliament. While it might be suitable as by the standing order to take this matter to the Committee of Implementation, but probably the fullness of time, because it's a very technical matter, it would have been necessary or important, probably once the report is given, it goes back to the Committee of Environment because of the technical know-how to analyze and make sure they recommend on the matter as they go through. Of course, one of the prayer was compensation of residents affected by the pollution. But the committee prayers rejects this prayer because of the compensation is best resolved through adjudication. We have already, depending on the test of the water, if indeed it confirms that the water is polluted and is causing death of marine life or the social marine life, then those people who depend on this river ought to be compensated. Because, and who compensates them? It should be the national government, because protection of the environment at national level is assigned to the national government under the Constitution of Kenya. Outrightly rejecting is literally saying, just like we normally do, we're burying our heads in the sand, assuming nobody has been affected, no lives have been lost, and those kind of things. I would urge them probably, at the time when there's an opportunity to revisit, we must surely ensure that we get it done. Honorable Speaker, at times I wonder why did we even come up with the NEMA? At times NEMA looks so hopeless, so useless, so unable to act. Honorable Speaker, the polluters of the river are known. The polluters of the river can be documented. NEMA under the MCA have got unfettered rights to ensure, to enforce there is adequate and proper disposal of waste, and so that there's no emission or there's no waste being emitted to the rivers. But Honorable Speaker, I think NEMA seems to be subsumed in some other activities, nobody knows, and that's why you find the level of degradation of our environment is becoming a matter of national concern, yet there isn't much NEMA is doing to ensure things are done. Perhaps they are so preoccupied with the collecting levies for those housing permits to an extent they have forgotten the core mandate. Honorable Speaker, as we look at river pollution, probably should not even be related or only fixed on Earth River. This cuts across the entire country, and I would request the committee to really have a thorough audit. I'm sure there are so many reports. Synthesize that report. Let this debate become a national debate, because the only thing we have is our rivers, our marine life, our lakes, everything that we have. If we destroy them now, we'll leave nothing for our children. I beg to support the report, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Honorable members, I do not seem to see any more interest on this matter, so I will ask the mover to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to thank the honorable members who have contributed to this debate. The many of them, Madam Speaker, you've heard that every member who has spoken to this issue has supported this report, and it is because of the significance of our natural resources. And Honorable Speaker, one thing that has come out very clearly is that we cannot allow people who want to benefit, or rather who want to put profit before human life. And since the polluters of our rivers are well known, Honorable Speaker, it is our hope that action will be taken against those that are polluting our rivers, so that we can safeguard the interests of the people of Kenya and even the generations that will come before us. As the Honorable Undo has said, the polluters are well known. They are the owners of companies and other enterprises, and they should be taken. They should be held responsible for the pollution that they have been putting into our rivers. So, Honorable Speaker, I reply. Sorry.
You reply, yes. Thank you very much. Honorable members,